Hello again, welcome back to lesson 71 in this series. Before proceeding with this particular lesson, I want to just go over what I should have gone over earlier. Two of the most fundamental functions in all of Windows that you should be aware of because it's going to come up, and I might as well go over them before continuing on. And those are these two. It has to do with the messaging. Send message. Now, as you can probably guess, this is a method of sending a message to a window. If you know it and handle to a window, and you know what kind of message you want to send, you can call this function. I'll just pick a random example, easy example. First, let's make a window. Here's a window. And run the. Turns out that spy thing was always in the menu here. Now locate that window. Okay. So here's its handle 6EO. First, I'm going to define an H1. E0 78. I gotta cast it. That's not a type on its own. Now I'm gonna send it one of the known messages. What this message does is it returns, if you look it up in the help, send this message to the what says control. That doesn't have to be a control, it could be any kind of window. And the return value, these have to be 0, and the return value is the length in T cards, not including the null character of the Windows text. Okay. Now these things always return an L result. I'm going to call it in. Okay, and I'm just going to send that message to that window. Now, it should give me the length of this text entitled Notepad, because that's the text in its title bar, that's its caption. And, okay, it gave me back the value 18. Okay, can't really do much with that. However, if I now allocate using our magic auto creating strings, let's say text length and length, and well, this threshold value the size after which this macro chooses to use malloc instead of just taking from the stack. Okay. So now I have the length, not including the null terminator, and this len here allocates a buffer of size length plus 1, so that'll be just the right size to contain the string. So now I could do copied, let's say, to my hlim, and it's wm get text. Now the parameters for this one are a length, including the null terminating character, maximum to be copied, including the null terminator, in tcars. Now remember, this thing is Unicode window, but this, I'm not calling a Unicode, I'm not calling the wide-car version of this function, I'm calling the multi-byte version. So tcars in this case means cars, and the buffer. So I'm going to be passing our buffer. Now I'm just going to let it complain because it's going to complain. Now you see the complaint. Cannot convert from tcar star to alpha now. So you always have to cast this last bit as an alpha now. Now in truth, the number of bytes copied is not the return value of this message. Return value is the number of bytes copied, not including the null character. Okay? So in fact, this number and this number should be exactly the same. You could assert that. Or you could put +1 if you want. But it amounts to the same thing. The actual number of bytes copied is one more than this value. And then we could just print it out. If it works. I'll run through it. Okay, I get 18 for the length. For the string, here's my string. Now I'm sending a get text message. And there it is, untitled notepad. And we print it out. Okay? Now of course there are millions and millions of these various messages. They all have different ways of being called and different meanings and whatnot. And you can send keys and do all sorts of things. Now the important thing about this send message, as opposed to the next function I'm going to tell you about, is that this is blocking. That is, this function won't return until the message has been processed by this window, or unless the window died. And then you might get a 0 here, and then you could check to see what happened. Maybe some error occurred. But what you should be wondering, what ought to be crossing your mind, is how it's possible for you to send this pointer of allocated memory from my stack into another process, and if copying some information into that, somehow into that pointer and bringing it back to me, then obviously there's something deep going on here, something highly involved, and it is. There's a lot of stuff going on in this whole process. It's deep into the operating system. Some kind of context switch has to occur. It has to change. The call has to somehow switch into another process's address space. Some data has to be copied, has to be retrieved, has to switch into our address space and somehow get copied into a little buffer. And you can imagine it's probably quite a complicated process. Now, the other kind of message doesn't block, and that's called post message. Now, takes all the same parameters as this. We could, if we wanted to, do this. But remember, this is not blocking. I think it probably returns the same type of no, it returns a bool. Well, that's good. That's handy. At least it doesn't return an L result. Let's see what the hell it says about that. Curious what the return value might mean. What I want. Okay, just success or fail. Now, there's this HWin broadcast, which you don't need to know about right now, but you can imagine what that might do. Okay, don't worry about that either. So there are two special values, but generally just some handle to window, the posted message, and some stuff. Now this data gets sent up, would get sent off, right? And independent of what our program is doing, it may eventually get processed. For instance, here's one message. Get rid of this. And this. We could try this one. You can guess what that message might do. Okay, now I'm just posting this and not sending it. And it's gone. See? Disappeared. Now this WM quit is typically a message that an application sends to itself. Okay? Normally you wouldn't do this because a new notepad, we're going to get a new handle to window. Now, this bit is kind of tedious because you can't copy this. 1AO probably for this reason, CVA. Okay. Now the problem with this sending this WM quit is, well, actually, I can show you two things at once. Forget about this copy. There's a CS, kind of a seeking program, searching for window, called Find Window. Now that thing takes a class name and a window name, and it tries to find a match. You can specify null for either of these things. And if I want to make this something unique, I actually have another thing with the same name down here. So if I just save this as, I think I actually have I made this file for this demonstration. So first, you could try quitme.txt. And you'll find Here we go. That this won't work because it has to be at least, I don't know if it's case sensitive. I guess you can find that out. It has to be pretty much an exact match. This should work. It should find that window. And it did. Okay. Now again, I can just kill it like this. It's easier for me to repeat this experiment. I just want to change the title so that I can locate it. Now see, if I'm typing some stuff in here, and somebody comes along and sends this quit message, well, I just lost all my work, right? And that's why this WM quit is typically something that is sent from inside the program. In fact, that message loop thing I told you about, if you recall, that while get message and all that stuff, when a WM quit message is received by a window, this function returns false. Okay, so that is the way to make this thing return false and end the loop. So you don't want to send that from the outside unless you're feeling evil. However, there's another message, close I think it is, which is a request. Right, okay. No, this is a request that the application should terminate. Now I haven't added any text in there, so this should probably kill it. Right? However, we want this sketch. However, if I've typed something in here, and I try that again, this time it shouldn't quit. See, it's blinking. It's asking if I want to save changes, and I can cancel that request. So this is a request to close, and the other thing is a command to close. And both of those things were done using the post message thing, which is non-blocking. It doesn't wait for that action to terminate. If I said send message close, I'm not sure I haven't tried that, but I think it will just be stuck here. How do we prove it? Well, that should do it, right? In theory, it should block. And look, you see, there's nothing printed out here. It's waiting for this message. It's waiting for this message to complete its task. So that's the difference between post and send. Now, if I cancel, there's now my program continues. You see? Okay, so those two things are important. This find window thing is of use, obviously. You can locate windows. For instance, you might not know the particular name of the window, but you might know the class name, or you might want to find all windows of a particular class. And there's ways to go about searching and scanning for various windows. Yeah. Now, is there anything else I wanted to say before going on? Just give me a sec here. No, I guess that's about it regarding those two for now, although it's going to come up again and again. Send message and post message. One blocks and one is non-blocking. Now, what I'm going to do again is hit pause again and let everything commented out. And I'll try to get us back to where we were so we can start building that class. I hit pause. There is more I forgot. There's another very, very important thing that I have to go over. And that has to do with these window procs. And these classes. Okay. I'm going to look for an example of the thing I want to show you. Back to pause. Okay. Now, this takes us back to the window class structure and this creating of a class, whatever, one of these class things, and add them and whatnot, and this window proc. Okay, well, not necessarily just that, but that happens to be something that's going to come up in a second. Now, all of these things are things that are associated with a class. Okay. Now, that was the first step, if you recall. Something happened. You created one of these window class things, and you passed it in here. Then there's this create window bit, which I don't know why the hell's not coming up. And this is a little bit like our dialog create, dialog box indirect or whatever. And the thing that's the thing that's the same, and the thing I want to point out anyway, is this optional parameter that can be passed into this create window. Okay. And people typically use this for the same reason that we're going to be using the optional parameter, and that is to override something, typically, or to store some information actually in the window itself. Now, how this happens is through this function. Well, there are two. It used to be just one, but now there are two. I don't know if there's any difference between the two. Probably supposed to use this one, but whatever. Now, a window has, where was I? Has all these various attributes, okay? And you can overwrite them using this SetWindowLong. Now that things that you can overwrite Geez. The things that you can overwrite have to do with the index passed into this function. And for instance, you can set the extended style if the window was created this way. Or you can set the style, okay, change the window style. You can change the window procedure, you see. So, for instance, for a particular window, okay, you can overwrite its window procedure, and that's what I was looking for. Here's an example of one where that's actually happened. It says the window procedure, blah blah blah, subclass. Okay, the overwriting of the window procedure is called subclassing of a window. That is, you're changing its procedures, you're changing its behavior by creating a new procedure for that window. And when you do that, you do whatever overriding you might want to do, and then call into the previous procedure. Or doesn't tell you here, but somewhere in here, SetWindowLong. Anyway, there's a function. There's a function called callWindowPtr. Trying to find here. So in order to call the previous window procedure, you have to retrieve it. So the LL to this SetWindowLong is a GetWindowLong or GetWindowLongPtr, and one of the possible things to get is the window procedure. Or if it's a dialog, you can get its dialog procedure. So you could change the behavior of a dialog. Now, one area in the window struct for a particular window is something called TWL. Well, this is dialog window long pointer user. Okay. Now, this is private information that you can put in yourself. It's reserved for your use, that you can either get or retrieve. See, here it is here. Now, or there's this user data too. And actually, I think user data is the one we want. Yeah, that's it. Private to the application. Well, either one, anyway. I'm not sure which one I used, but the point of it is that aside from all this subclassing and changing styles and whatnot, there is a place associated with the window, with the dialog, where we can store some information and retrieve it. Okay? And that's where we would like to put this pointer so that we can get it back. Save it and get it back. Whenever a message is received, we can retrieve this pointer from the actual window itself. So that's that. There's another thing called superclassing, which has to do with setting a class long. Okay. Now this would be overriding an entire class of windows. Okay. For instance, you could change the window procedure of an entire class of windows. Some of them you're not allowed to, I'm sure, like edit is reserved. But I think actually I think edit wasn't reserved. You can change the behavior of all, at least within your program anyway. All edit controls, you could add some new functionality to them. Icons. Now, I don't know what changing the module might do. Changing the module that registers the class. I'm not sure how the use of that would be. But anyway, we won't be using that. We don't want to use that. Okay, so now I've used up too much time once again. The idea now is in this WindowDialog. This L param is going to contain a this pointer, and we're going to use one of these SetWindowLong type things, okay, to save the this pointer in the dialog's data structure, which can be retrieved whenever another message comes in. So when the next message comes in, let's say one of these WM command things, we'd then do a GetWindowLong, and that will retrieve a this pointer, and then we can use the this pointer to call the appropriate function for the appropriate instance of the appropriate TsDialog thing. Now, so that's enough for you to actually go through the help and try to understand how these things work. Try playing with it, you know. Make a window, and maybe don't change this right away, but try changing a style. Not this one. Stay away from that one. WindowLong. You know, go in there and change the identifier for a control. See if you can do that. You know, switch the OK and cancel buttons or something, or style or whatever. And then now again, I'll have to postpone until the next time. A pretty obvious next step. We're not subclassing anything. We're not going to do any of that stuff. We're not going to add a new WindPtr. All we want to do is save off some data, some instance data associated with a particular window in its instance data. A window is an instance of a class, right? Of a wind class. So we don't want to save it in the global area. We want the instance data to be in the instance area. Alright. Hopefully that made sense. Alright. Till next time again.